Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everyone? This is the SML Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. Pretty much basically joining as usual for these episodes, the Wednesday episodes. Pernell Vaughn, you're here. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today, albeit really sleepy. Can you tell why?
No, why?
I did something dumb. I went to a physical labor encampment to better my body, and it is costing me in exhaustion points. It is bad, but also good. You know, like go to a gym, you go and do things you don't think are fun because somehow, after all these years, we have yet to get gamification going in gyms. I don't know why. It just makes sense to do it. But anyway, you do something that don't involve video games, and then you come out and you smell like moss, and you're sweaty. You only want to sit in your own car chair because, you stick to it. All that fun stuff. But honestly, I came home, took a shower, and ate some leftover ramen that I got from a ramen restaurant out this way. Honestly, leftover ramen is just as good as, fresh ramen. I don't know what it is. Must be all the sodium.
All those preservatives, keeping it fresh.
That's right. Fresh from my gullet. Works for me. Love stuff. But for the most part, I've been pretty good. I guess aside from the gym stuff wiping me out and just being inundated with everything, I'm pretty good. How about you?
Well, I'm doing all right. I'm a year older. It was my birthday this past Monday, so I am now 1 year closer to the grave. All
right, 31 years old, Joe. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, 31. I wish I was just 31.
I know that all too well. My age is all kinds of blurred at this point.
I know I'm not 40 yet.
And that in and of itself is worth its weight in gold. I think once we hit 40, though, it's like, just let it run.
Yeah, it's all over.
It's all the same. Also, I'd say that it's almost all the more reason I'm like, better work out now because I'm tall, which means that my bones are going to get all brittle and shit. Like, doesn't take long. And go start walking. I buckled over because apparently tall people's bones go to crap faster.
Really?
Yeah. So I heard anyway, or from other gym folk anyway. And I used to honestly hear that back in the day. Like, I remember years ago, there was this stupid news story I saw when I was a kid when it involved a guy whose bones just kind of became brittle as he got older because of how tall he was. And he just became like a walking pane of glass. And it was very unpleasant story. And as I saw it, I'm like, I wasn't nearly as tall as I am now, but I was still taller than the average kid. And it disturbed me. I'm like, is this going to be me? Am I going to just walk into a door and shatter or some crap? And while I haven't done that, thank heavens, I can honestly say that I have had that annoying leg buckle moment or try to do jump rope. I was like, whoa, why do my legs feel so awkward when I try to jump rope? Now I'm doing all kinds of leg exercises, try to kick the crap out of times degradation.
That's one way to do it.
Oh, yeah. At the same time, if I can get a VR helmet on and play Beat Saber while I do it, all the better.
I still need to pick up that game. I've heard so much good about Beat Saber. I just don't have the $30 for it.
I thought you were going to say you don't have the money for the VR headset. Like that I get, but save up then, because Beat Saber is totally worth $30 if you can scrounge it. It's worth it. And it will make you sweat, which is even better. Games that make you sweat and make you want to go one more stage. That's what we need more of. Seriously. That's why DDR worked for so long for me. It's like, I would get to the point of passing out in the arcade. I'm like, I don't care. I could do this track. I'm going to get a double A, I swear. It's like, Pernell, you would have done better an hour ago when you had energy. Don't tell me what to do. I can still do this to get my second wind or something. But you just kept pushing and pushing. And the next thing you know, oh, wait, how much? Damn.
How many quarters does that cost you?
Way too many. But it was so worth it.
You could probably afford your own DDR machine by now if you just save those quarters.
At today's used prices, easily.
What do they go for?
I've heard stories of them going for like $2,000, $3,000. Though, obviously, the newer ones are still going to bop you 10 grand. I'm talking specifically used ones where people are trying to unload their old DDR Extreme machines and stuff.
Yeah.
But the newer ones are still going to cost you.
Or you could cheap out and get like a pump it up station.
I'd prefer that. I've always preferred pump it up to DDR.
Really?
Oh, God, yeah. It was designed better. DDR had that 4-arrow cross thing or the plus sign. And while I got good at the game, the pad itself was smaller. So my tall ass always felt cramped in when I was trying to do steps. Whereas the pump game, it was a larger pad so I could move around more, spread out a bit. And due to having the X instead of the cross with the fifth button in the middle, things like crossovers and like transition to different step patterns just came naturally to me. Like I had never played the game before, went to the arcade and was already getting double A's. They just clicked. And this is from a guy who was playing DDR and was only at like a level 7 in that game. I got better at pump than I was at DDR at the time. It was weird. Yeah, it just is better. I just like it more. And people used to give me so much shit over it too. Like, you can't play. It's a knockoff of DDR. I'm like, well, it actually came out it actually came out like a little bit, almost a year before DDR did. But yeah, it's a knockoff.
Yeah, I'm learning stuff. I didn't know that Pump It Up came before DDR.
Yep. They were both in development around the same time, I would wager, because there's no way that they would have made DDR that fast if they solely bit off of Pump It Up. But they had to at least been in development around the same time because Pump came out before it. So whenever people would tell me that, I was like, no, actually it's not. It came out first. It's just we didn't know it because it was holed up in Korea. And then some intrepid person was like, we could sell these abroad for peanuts. And those Americans will lap it up.
Stupid Americans.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, okay, wait, there's this game called Dance Dance Revolution that's taken off. Oh, I heard of that game. It's a lot like our game. Let's just sell our game, too, and capitalize. They already did the groundwork to get people playing this stuff. Now we just got to jump on board. So in America...
Jump on board.
I wish... Why wasn't that intentional? Can't even claim that. There goes that shame bug again, just nipping at my face. But you know how I go. In the end, Pump It Up is a good game. It kept the weight off for a long, long time. It earned me free drinks and free parking at the beach. It was a fantastic game, and I still play it sometimes, but I'm just not in as good a shape as I used to be, and I have to drive farther, so I can't just like make it like a regular gym-esque routine. But when I do get up there, I do sweat like the oldies again. I put the work in there and walk home, leave the arcade hobbling, just as it should be.
I need to find some kind of game that is just addictive enough that I come back to it every day and it gets me working out, which Beat Saber might be.
No, Beat Saber would be. Though I will say I've heard rumors. Well, it's not really rumors. It's actual news. It's just got to look it up and confirm it. But the VR version on Steam has access to a ridiculous number of more songs, whereas the PSVR version has some songs, and it has like a song pack I think it got released recently, but by volume, the quantity is much lower. I think when I played my friend's Beat Saber back in January, there were only about 30 or 40 songs on it, but there's been a song pack released since then, though I don't know how much is on it. But nonetheless, whether you get the PSVR one or the Steam version, I think it's worth it, because by the end of my session, I felt good. I was sweating like a pig, and it was one of those sweats where I barely could tell because I was too busy having fun to realize I was getting tired. That doesn't happen often anymore.
Yeah, if I did it, it would definitely be the PlayStation VR version, because that's the only VR I have. It's just, I don't know, it's such a pain in the ass to drag it out and set it up and put the helmet on and get the Move controllers and make sure that they're charged. And then
you make it a routine. That's the thing. It has to become a routine. If you made it a routine, that wouldn't be a problem because you'd have it set up. It's just like when you play a board game and you take it down and they have it so that you can prep it for your next play session. You put the pieces in the right spots. You have like the insert where you just drop all the stuff in just the right spots. And eventually you're just like, done, ready for tomorrow, and just break it out again. With the Move, you just plug them back in. Or if you got one of those stands for it, I guess you put the Move pads on the stand. Let's set the VR on the coffee table. Just do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe. First, I need $30 for Beat Saber.
That's the hardest part. Though maybe the game even has like a demo or something. You just mooch the demo until you get the money. Just play the same 2 songs over and over again.
Or maybe one of our listeners will hook me up with a code for the game.
Surprise! There it is. You'll see. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Thank you, listener Bojack Gamesman.
I was sad because my local Craigslist had an item for sale. I guess they bundled Borderlands VR and Beat Saber with the PlayStation VR headset, and they were just selling the codes for the 2 games for $50. Oh, and I missed out on it.
I thought you were like, they're selling it with the VR headset. Like, whoa, $50.
No, just for the 2 games. A $30 game and a $50 game for $50. That's a good deal. It's just it sold before I had a chance.
Yeah, though I gotta admit, I'd almost have to wonder if I'd go through the hassle of wanting to play Borderlands VR, because even though it's in VR, it's also still Borderlands 1, which I've played to death ad nauseum. And speaking of games that have been beaten over the head with a shovel to the point of just like zombification, freaking that darn behemoth game, Castle Crashers. People are getting so excited that it's getting announced for Switch, PS4, and am I crazy because I don't care, or I'm just not feeling the love for it? Given as much as, even though I love Castle Crashers, the game, it's a 10-year-old game, more than 10-year-old, and it's gotten updated. It got remastered already on Xbox One. And I want to say there may have even been another re-release at some point, or maybe I'm just thinking about it getting released on PS3 and I think it was in Steam at one point. But people are like, oh my God, it's back again. Like, did they add any new levels? No. Did they add anything? And I heard like from like a Mega 64 where they added a chainsaw. Like, okay, that's great. The same levels I've played to death already with my friends. Like, I need a new game. Like, is it that hard for them to just take some of those assets? I mean, they've had 10 years. They could have come up with like 3 new night types and 4 stages, which really is just the background, and they could just reuse enemies and mix them up, and no one would have been none the wiser. It's still like, all right, new stages to run through. In reality, it's just a template. But it would have been better than nothing. But I can't, in good conscience, buy the game again. I can't do it.
I might do it on the Switch just because this is the first time it'll be portable.
Yeah, but that's the other component to this. Like, when the Switch first came out, I had the whole, get it again, it's portable now. But then something happened. And what that was I got a lot of games because they're portable. So now they're just glut. They're just taking up space, and then when it comes time to choose, what am I going to play? I'm going to look at them all, and I'm going to go, well, I've played that game to death. Yeah, but it's portable. And I've played it all to death. It's like being portable ain't going to change that. And then end up gravitating towards a newer experience. Like, heck, if they charge more than like $10 for it, I'd say just buy the freaking Capcom Beat 'em Up collection. And while you might be saying, but you've played those to death too, my response is, no, I've played one of those games to death. Many of those I've actually never played before. So it's like, wow, these are classics, but they're all new to me. You know, like examples like that. Like, and there's probably games over there I'm not even thinking about that I could say, hey, that's a beat 'em up or a side scroller. Break that out right now and play it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I'm one of those people where it's like, even I had one guy who was like, I've never played it before on the Xbox, so I'm excited for it. And I was like, okay, well, for someone like you, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But you got to understand where I'm coming from, too. For every person that's like, I've never played it before, how many people have actually been like, oh, yeah, I've played this game to death? And like, I think it's more rare that a person will come out and go, I've never played Castle Crashers before than the opposite. But that's just me thinking that. But I honestly think people who are playing video games during that time likely played Castle Crashers because that thing was big news.
I'm trying to think if Castle Crashers was ever released on a Nintendo platform before. I can't remember.
It definitely wasn't because, I mean, think back, the only console it could have been released on, given the era, was the Wii. And it definitely didn't make it on the Wii.
Or the Wii U. I don't think it's on the Wii U, but I don't remember for sure. No, I wouldn't think it had been the Wii. Well, it's not on the Wii U for sure, but I don't think it would have been a part of the Wii U library either because when did the Wii U come out? It was like, because the Wii U came out right before I left my apartment. So, no, not a chance because when the remaster came out was when the Xbox One was a thing and it did not, I see what it is. Yeah, it would not have come out for the Xbox One at the time. I mean, on the Wii U at the time. So, which is unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah. This will be the Nintendo console to get the love. Though I would say this also. My thought was like,
And the guy I was talking to thought it was like crazy. I was like, well, I wish they re-released was Battle Blocks Theater. Oh, that's one I would have loved to have had on the Switch because the whole guaranteed 2-player bit. And that game's main draw for me was when you had 2 people working together to solve some of those stages because it got ridiculous.
Yeah, Battle Block was pretty good.
Yeah, and the freaking voiceovers were hysterical in that game.
Oh, God, yeah.
Wherever they get to do the voices for their characters, it's always the same guy, too. But his voice is just perfect for that stuff. Hattie! What are you doing, Hattie? Put down the Skittles. It's so weird. I love it. You know, I'm going to have to play Battle Block tonight just for the freaking heck of it before I go to bed. We'll see.
There you go. There's your plans for the night.
Battle Block Theater.
Yeah, boy. That works.
Called Tip Your Hat to Battle Block or Tip Your Hat to that shit.
But if you think instead of Castle Crashers we need new game experiences, how about something like The Princess Guide?
Well, let's see. Maybe after you give a bit of the intro jargon for it, I can tell you how I feel.
You ready to get into these reviews?
Let's take a dip in the pool.
All right, you got 2 games to talk about tonight. The first one is called The Princess Guide, developed by Nippon Ichi Software, published by NIS America, releasing March 26th on the Switch for $39.99, if I can talk properly. Become an instructor and guide 4 princesses on the path to becoming great leaders. Pernell, tell us about it.
God.
Don't make fun of my speech impediment. I have a big tongue.
What can I say? It's because your voice is inconceivable. Okay, now that I got that out of the way. The Princess Guide is a game that gives me very mixed opinions, but I will try to explain the game and give you the general sense of where it comes from. From a person who is familiar with it, it is definitely a game meant to, be a follow-up to the game, to the penny punching princess engine, to the letter. If you know what that is, then you're already halfway to the end of this review. But if you don't, this game involves 4 princesses. One of what you choose, one of each at the beginning of the game. You choose one of them, and that's the princess you work with as their mentor. And you are trying to coach them to becoming great leaders in their countries. Eventually, of course, you'll end up working with the other princesses too. But they make you start out with at least one of them, and then you kind of go through and pick each one as necessary when the game calls for it. But the way this is done is that the game will present you on a map akin to a Dragon Force map, which is a bunch of nodes connected with roads. And there's a day-night cycle, but no actual days. So you're not worried about a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday bit. It's just, is it day or night? And it just counts day by day. And the reason why that factors in is because when you're on this map, missions will pop up. Like you might say, start at your base, initiate communication at the base, and you'll start your first mission, which might be go to this castle on the other side of the map and then see what's going on there. And as you move around the map, or even just sit idle, that clock will tick. And that clock ticking will determine enemy movement and spawning. It will also determine your AP gauge while your characters are moving on the map as well. But what ends up happening is as you go around the map, you hit locations, events occur, which can trigger new scenarios. And when these scenarios happen, you might end up in situations like a battle. Like it might spawn monsters on the map, and you have to eventually collide with them using your characters that are moving around on the map. God, this is a weird way to explain this game. I got to get the brain this in. But anyway, the point is, once you start a battle with one of the other enemy nodes during a mission or some sort, it goes into a top-down view. You control the princess or the mentor character or a general that you can hire using money. But either way, you're commanding a unit leader and a squad of units, of miniature, smaller units. So let's say, for example, the princess. It'll be the princess character and 6, let's say, scrub units like a slime and 2 soldiers. And what ends up happening is you run around this map, like a top-down dungeon map, and there's one button that you can use to do a light attack. You press the one button along with another button to do a sort of special move, and then you can hold down. God, this is a weird game. And also keep in mind, if you have any questions about it, let me know, because this is probably one of the hardest games I've had to explain just by how convoluted it is.
I'm just enjoying the ride.
Works for me. All right. And then there's another, if you hold down the R trigger button, you go into something called command mode. And then if you press either the A button or the Y button, you can trigger attacks that are based off of the some units that you're controlling in the game. So a soldier might have a base attack of firing a bullet, but if you do to hold down the button and press A, he'll do a sort of like a laser lance shot or something. And you get a certain limited number of those before they run out, and then you're kind of screwed. But you pretty much run around the map, beating the tar out of monsters before the time limit runs up with your units. And while you're fighting, your actual scrub units that you carry along with you will level up and get stronger. But your main unit character does not. I'll get to how they get stronger later. In addition to just fighting enemies using normal attacks, there's also relics on the board. Relics existed also in Penny Punching Princess, but you just have to pay money to activate them in that game. Whereas in this game, you just walk up to them and press A, and boom. It's just a clock runs down, the clock runs up, and now you have control of this relic, which allows you to use it to your advantage. Like, might be a flamethrower against the wall that would have attacked you, but once you control the relic, now you can activate it to attack enemies for a certain number of times before it burns out. So there's no cost to unlocking relics in this game, which, if you remember Penny Punching Princess, the fact that they cost money made you want to decide which relics you actually want to activate. You don't just willy-nilly choose things. But in this game, you just activate everything, because not only can you use the traps to hurt enemies, though unfortunately you can only activate and use one at a time. But in addition to that, the more relics you activate on the map, the higher the dominance gauge goes up. And after certain intervals of increase, like the 20% or 30% of all the relics being unlocked on the stage, you'll unlock new formations for your squad. So you might get a formation called Triage, which will get you a healing boost, or Scatter Shot, which will increase the attack power of all of your units. And you'll pretty much want to make use of those to kind of make your units more effective in combat. Though, admittedly, I primarily only used the one that gave me a healing bump, because it felt weird even trying to work with those things. I never quite felt the full effect of them. So I was just like, I'll hold on to them until I need to heal myself with the healing formation, and I'll just spam it until I can't use anymore, because you only get a certain number of those too.
That works.
Now, I mentioned earlier that your princess does not level up through just getting experience points, and neither does the commander. How do they level up? Well, this is one of the things that is very convoluted about this game. The way you level up a princess is that she has 5 traits, like strength, morale, faith, and like 2 others that are eluding me right now, wisdom and something else. And God, this is so bizarre. The way you level those up is you have to earn these things called materia. Like, think materia like Final Fantasy VII by the name spell. The way you get these things is by disciplining your princess. And the way you do that is when she is the commander on the battlefield. You can hit the 2 trigger buttons at the same time and either praise or scold her on the battlefield. Which do you choose? No freaking idea, because there's really no indication as to which does what. It's just praise her or scold her. Why am I scolding her? And the thing is, sometimes you'll say scold, and she's like, oh, thank you. And you're like, why? I just yelled at you. And other times you'll go praise, and she's like, oh, but I'm not ready yet. Like, what does the system determine when a praise or a scold is the good? Don't know. Anyway, when you do that, you will activate a temporary buff or sometimes debuff. Like, you might get a speed down if you chose the wrong guidance, but it's usually good as opposed to bad. But in addition to just doing those buffs, the more you praise or scold her, the more you will do something called direct guidance boosting. And once you reach certain intervals, you'll unlock new materia. Materia which can then be equipped and further leveled up until they max out, and then you use those materia to boost the character's stats. It sounds crazy, but it actually goes pretty smoothly, to the point where even if you forget to unlock or equip new ones, I think from what I've noticed, the game auto equips new ones when you've maxed the old ones out. So you're never just like wasting time not leveling up materia that you've got sitting in your inventory. In addition to the ones that you get from direct guidance, you also unlock they're called bonus materia, by fulfilling certain objectives like killing 10 of a certain type of enemy, or, I don't know, taking a certain number of steps. A bunch of like secret goals that once you fulfill them, it's just you've unlocked this warrior acumen materia or whatever. And then once you've maxed those out, you use them and boost the princess's stats. Once you get certain, like, let's say, amounts filled up, like say strength level 2 and morale level 2, you'll also unlock different buffs for her or her troops, like plus 15% attack power or bonus gold on the battlefield, things like that. Now, the commander His level ups come from when you use the materia to level up the princess, there's a side effect that generates skill points. Those skill points can then be used to boost the commander. And you can use the skill points to boost his different stats, like his hit points or his attack power, his defense power, or you can like unlock certain skills like, soldier experience plus 25%, or, like defense plus 15%, stuff like that. And basically, if that sounded confusing, well, guess what? It feels confusing when you're learning it in the game, too. Even though the game has a tutorial, you'll be looking back on it a lot as you try to get acclimated with how the hell this game works. But it's weird because as I was trying to figure it out, I didn't find myself feeling really bored by it or anything. I was doing fine. I was running around being a very inefficient soldier, but I was still being a soldier. It helps that there's no real penalty for like dying either. Like if I died on the battlefield, the game would just respawn me in the battle, starting it over, and I'd just try it again. I mean, I guess there may have been a moment where I would have had to feel like I needed to retreat, and there might have been a penalty there, but I just kept beating my head against the wall until I got through. Simple as that. Worth mentioning also, though I'm not sure if I touched on it or not yet, but I mentioned earlier that there is a timer, like a night and day cycle.
Yeah.
The one thing that I can definitely say that it does is that when you send a unit off onto the map to explore, they have an AP gauge. And I believe the AP gauge determines when they'll have to eventually be withdrawn. Like by default, they have to be withdrawn and sent back to the base. But I never got to that point. I always withdrew on my own accord because in addition to, the eventually getting tired, the more you walk around, you don't get healed up or anything. So if you take damage on the field and you don't heal up using like a mana statue relic that you find on the map, which when activated heals you, you will just carry damage. And you might just say, you know what? I'm too far from my base. I need to recover. I'm going to withdraw from the map. If you withdraw from the map, each time you do that, the character has to wait a certain number of day-night cycles before they can come back out on the field. So while you can hit the fast forward button to speed up the clock, you will have moments where you're like, crap, all my guys are currently resting up right now. What the hell am I supposed to do? Wait it out. Connect can get a little bit on the annoying side, but you get used to it eventually. You'll also end up unlocking new generals that you can put onto the field and give them soldiers so that you can at least have some guys out there doing stuff while your general and princess are resting up. And honestly, you don't want to rely too much on these other units you can unlock, or not you can unlock, but that you purchase, because unlike the general and the princess, those generals do not level up at all. They do not grow. Their soldiers can grow, but they themselves do not. So I only really used them when I needed just to have somebody to kind of cover my back on the field because the enemies were kind of spawning around me in ways I couldn't get to them until I was like, I'll just send one of the dud units out and they'll take care of business for me. But you won't be spending too much time focusing on them if they're not worth the effort because you're a loser. The gameplay story the way the story works out as far as the flow goes is just like I mentioned earlier. You get a mission that shows up on the map. You send a unit over there to activate it. A story sequence will open up. Then either monsters will show up on the map that you have to go out and kill, or there might be a scenario where it says, don't let monsters get to this node. Keep them away and kill them until time runs out. So you get something like that. Or pretty much that's it. Sometimes you'll get some side missions, but they end up being around the same kind of goals, like just kill these guys on the map or protect this location. Not much variety in the missions. It's all about just, are you enjoying the grind of using the different attacks that the characters get, equipping weapons on them, which for the record, each come with their own unique EX attack, which can be used in different ways. Like one might be like a whip that surrounds you. One might be a massive explosion, but for the most part, you'll be making use of those two to kind of add a little bit of variety to your general's attacks. But for the most part, for as long as you can find yourself feeling enjoyment out of this combat system, that's pretty much what will determine your longevity with the game itself. And that is probably both a hit and a miss for the game, because while I did enjoy the combat system, because I also like penny punching Princess, I do feel that it could lose its luster if the game goes on too long and wears out its welcome, which it didn't for me, but I'm not everybody. No. So that is the risk that is run here. But I mean, honestly, for the time I played it, I was having fun with the combat.
Which is all that matters. They are having fun. I
think so, yeah. It's just one of the things where it's like you could tell that there's like they could have done a little more here. Like made me care more about the princesses and the plight they're in. Maybe feel more about the world itself. But instead it was just more like, I'm going to use these characters and beat these guys up. I don't know why I'm disciplining the princess aside from unlocking materia, because quite frankly, I don't know if I'm being nice to her, if I'm appropriate. Even like during the story scenario, sometimes during a story sequence, there'll be a conversation going, and the princess will make a comment, like just a general statement, like, "Man, the sun sure is like I really should have eaten those donuts today. I shouldn't have eaten those donuts or something." And then rather than give you like actual responses, like "You shouldn't have eaten those donuts" or "What are you doing?" it just says praise or scold. Like she realizes she shouldn't have eaten the donuts. Why would I scold her for that? I would realize that she made a mistake, but it does that stuff where I was like, what am I praising or scolding? I need a reason. Give me more context here. It was like, nope, you gotta praise her, you gotta scold her. Tell her. And it's like, I don't know. But all in all, I feel as though The Princess Guide is a game that has a number of systems that are at work. The game tries to teach them to you, but ultimately you will end up fumbling a bit as you try to figure what the heck materia is and how many attacks do I actually have at my disposal, and what the hell do these formations truly do, though I did explain it earlier in the review. But ultimately, you're going to have a bit of a growing pains aspect of just trying to figure out the systems, even though the game does explain them to you. It won't come naturally, I can promise you that. But once you do pick up on it, it is nice to just be able to run around and just, like, maul the crap out of enemies with like your squad of like super killers.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of how long will it hold out for you, the player? But yeah, maybe where the rating would come in, I guess.
Yeah. So as it stands, $40 on it. What do you think of it? I
think it would definitely. It's not a buy it for sure. It's definitely more of a try it, specifically because you'll be coming. I feel, they're adorable. They have this weird bouncy animation when they're talking in dialogue. I don't understand. I don't get it. Anyway, point is the characters. The characters are adorable, but also I'm not sure that I really felt attached to them. So that's a question for if you'll feel that. So if I can definitely tell you that I don't think you'll get attachment. It's all about how you feel about the combat. If you feel as though you'll get enjoyment out of the combat and getting new gear and EX attacks and forming a squad to traverse the map, that mainly determines whether or not this will be the right game for you. So it's definitely a try. Did any of what I just said make any sense?
Pretty much, yeah.
You're lying to me.
Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. You'll never know. No, it sounds like a cool game. I enjoyed Penny Punching Princess, so I might have to give this one a check as well.
Oh, for sure. Honestly, I can say between the two, though, I definitely will say, definitely do Penny Punch first. But if you've already played Penny Punch and you want more, come over for this action. But there's something to be said about beating a guy up, with knocking money out of him, and then spending that money to bribe him to start working for you. You can't beat that. You just can't. There was
that was joy.
And the title is just called Penny Punching Princess. PPP. Tri-P. 3P. Give him a 3-piece.
Triple.
Triple P.
Oh, man. Okay, jokes aside, you do have one more game to talk about. That is called The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition. Developed by Still Running, published by Merge Games, released February 26th on the PS4 for $12.99. The world is under attack from vegetables turned evil by dastardly aliens. You must answer the call and take up arms to defend the planet. Buy weapons, develop your skills, and roam from city to city to take out waves of evil veggie monsters. Beware epic bosses waiting in each city to mash you up. Whatever you do, please save us. We checked this one out previously. Pernell, how does it hold up on the PS4?
I gotta say, I was not expecting to get the enjoyment I got out of this game. It worked. It works very well. It's like I feel like the sprites are very similar. They're not identical, but they're very similar to like Earthbound sprites, which likely helped me a lot with the initial appreciation. That coupled with the whole 80s retro graphics and music for that matter, which, oh my God, whoever wrote the music for this, if you're listening to this, I want to talk to you. I'm not even making that up. The music in this game is really good. But what ended up happening is this game plays a lot like Enter the Gungeon Light. And that is a good thing, honestly. Because as you know, Enter the Gungeon is a top-down shooter well known for its very brutal difficulty. And while this game can also become difficult, I do feel is a lot more accessible than that game. So that's what I meant by Enter the Gungeon Light. The way it works is you pretty much start out, you are spawned, well, you don't spawn, you go to a city, randomly generated, by the way, and you run around. You get a melee weapon, you get I guess I call them find throwables button, and you have a gun button. And as you run around the map, you go into a twin stick shooter mode where vegetables will just spawn. really wacky, freaking angry vegetables. Actually, they're not even angry. Sometimes they're happy. Sometimes they're sad. Sometimes they're just hopped up on PCP. But ultimately, they all want to kill you. And your job is to blow their brains out, or, I don't know, blow their seeds out using all the weapons at your disposal. You are running around the map. You are knocking and destroying objects, hoping to find keys, ammunition, and honestly, I think that's it for things you pick up off the ground. Also, health sometimes. But as you kill enemies, you clear out different areas, whether it be on the street or you open building doors using keys to go inside the buildings and clear out monsters there. And each time you clear out a location, an item will drop on the ground, which will allow you to pretty much get some free money or gear or something, which you can then use, if it's money, to purchase new gear at a shop that you can come across on the map. The shop can let you buy new guns, health kit items, or you can use these crystals, like they're red crystals. I can't remember what they're called, but you can use those, or you can use those to unlock other things like a item resale market or a fast travel location, and you get the red crystals for beating bosses in the game. But how do you get to bosses? Well, as you're exploring the map, killing the crap out of some vegetables, bashing broccoli, I don't know, sauteing spinach, all that kind of stuff. You eventually come across a little tiny alien that might just spawn on the map after you've cleared all the other enemies out. And he'll start shooting at you, attacking, or whatever. And once you've done enough damage to him, he will run away, leaving behind a giant elevator because for some reason he had that on his person. He will then take that elevator, pocket it in his eyeball or something. You'll climb into the elevator and it'll transport you to the area's massive vegetable boss. And the bosses are actually the most challenging part of the game because they kind of come on hard and fast, and you got to have pretty much, hopefully you've collected enough guns on the main map to actually have enough ammo to take them down, because you don't want to rely on your melee weapon to fight bosses. I can tell you that. You will probably get your ass beat, just saying. But once you beat the boss, you get to move on, yada, yada, yada. Wash, rinse, repeat until you're done the game. Also worth mentioning that I didn't get around to is the skill system. Skills in this game are unlocked by completing feats. Feats are equivalent to achievements or trophies where you have to do a certain thing to fulfill it. One might say beat the game without using your weapon roulette or your weapon wheel, which is, selecting between the different guns you pick up. One might say die 10 times. That's how you get the one that lets you get one extra health item or one extra hit in your health bar. And there's a number. There's about 20, I want to say it's like 23 of them or so in total. And as you unlock them, you have them for good, but you can only equip up to a certain amount at a time. Like, for example, you start out being able to equip one, but after you've unlocked, I think it's like 5 of them, you're able to equip a second one. Then once you've unlocked 10 of them, you can equip a third one. And then once you've unlocked 16 of them, you can equip 4 total. And that's the max you can hold at one time. But they do make for a fairly customizable game experience as you've unlocked more of them. Unfortunately, though, that does mean that you will be grinding a bit in this game to unlock all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how you feel about it, because a grind can be fun if you're enjoying the game. And I mean, this game is designed to pretty much be replayed over and over again. Go out, shoot a bunch of vegetables or fruit. There are fruits in the game, too. Just go out and kill a bunch of stuff, get killed, start over. Until one day, oh crap, I got this upgrade, I'm going to put that on. And you just keep doing it, just like how Enter the Gungeon was. You would play that game forever. You might never see the end of it, but you just kept playing it and unlocking stuff as you did. Kind of makes the game a little different each time you play. I do wish, though this may exist and I just didn't find it, I do wish there was like a sort of glossary for all the different guns you come across in the game, just so you can have an idea of like how many guns exist that you can find, and like maybe if they had like a stat system for them, so you knew which was stronger or weaker or faster or whatever.
Yeah, I always feel games like this, Super Meat Boy, Enter the Gungeon, they require you to be next to your computer with some kind of wiki open that has information on all the items in the game, so you know what you want and what you don't want.
Yeah, and like it would be nice if that was in this game for sure too, but unfortunately, at least I could tell, I didn't come across it, so I was just like, okay, I got this thing, I'm just going to mess with it and use it. It kills vegetables, it's enough for me. Though I did quickly learn that the shiv is garbage. Do not use the shiv. It is worthless. Anyway, this is one of those games where it's simple. If I saw it on the store by default, I would have ignored it. I regret that thought because, again, the music is great. The graphics are great. And when it's in motion, it's a cool game to see in motion, too. It's a good game. Like, the stills don't do it justice. I'm not saying that the game is a freaking graphic marvel, but I am saying that I'm pretty sure that the developer wanted it to be a seizure-inducing, as long as you're not prone to seizures, of course. A seizure-inducing action spectacular with wacky vegetables, succulent fruits, and just bullet-filled carnage all throughout the screen. And this game, I feel as though pulls that off in a way that I kept coming back wanting to play again and again, just to see how much further I could get. It's a good game. Honestly, I would go so far as to call it a great game. Does it beat the Gungeon? No, I don't think it defeats the Gungeon, but does it do well to sit alongside Gungeon as another top-down shooter? You damn right it does. And I think it's worth your time.
Well, then overall $13. What do you think? It's
a buy it. I think it's a genuine buy it.
Nice.
Well, yeah. Honestly, I ate vegetables last night just to I wanted to feel like I was getting some justice out in the real world too.
Oh God, Pernell, you are insane.
I know. That's why we need some walking vegetables in the real world. Put these skills to use.
Oh, jeez.
And a harpoon gun.
Yeah, harpoon gun is always fun.
Yeah, you shoot a piece of walking broccoli, pull it towards you, and then have the frying pan ready to beat it with the frying pan and just cook it right there on the street.
Oh, my Lord. Pernell, what am I going to do with you?
I don't know. Unleash mutant vegetables onto the world and then see how I fare. I think that's a valid plan.
Maybe. We'll see. I'll consider it.
Please do, because it would be worth your interest. I can tell you that much. Just think of the action and suspense.
Action, suspense, drama, romance.
That's right. Pernell fell in love with a walking strawberry. It was meant to be.
On that note, Pernell, always good having you on the show talking about this stuff. Do you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Honestly, no. Just go to the gym if you haven't been going, because it's worth it. Just get sleep prior, otherwise you're going to feel like I did tonight. Oh, dear God. It's bad. But do the gym or walk or something. It's worth it. And that's my shtick.
All right, moving on. Next game to talk about is called RBI Baseball 19, developed and published by MLB, released March 5th on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4 for $29.99. RBI Baseball 19 takes the field, delivering heightened authenticity for a genuine MLB experience. We've added hundreds of new animations, updated player models, every official 2019 uniform, more player gear, improved ball physics and environments, and more. Checking this one out. Jacob Garner, how are you doing?
I just got over a cold, so
So you're doing great.
I'm still on the struggle bus, really.
The struggle bus. Never heard that before.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Oh, that's been like a phrase for like forever.
I'm uncultured swine.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of uncultured swine, I mean, you did hear like MySpace like shit the bed, right?
No one cares.
Well, the thing is that I actually can't get a good grasp as to like what has actually been lost, because they make it. Do you want to be part of the show?
I couldn't hear anything.
My wife was like trying to get a couple of Oreos out of like the container, and it's just like crinkle, crinkle, crinkle.
Nice.
And I'm just like, do you want to be part of the show? And then she just looks at me and like just walks off with the whole box of Oreos.
Oh man. So yeah, RBI Baseball 19. How's that?
Hey, well, we were talking about MySpace. Hold on.
Do we have to?
No.
Wait till after the review, then you can talk about MySpace.
All right, fine.
So RBI Baseball 19. Tell me about it.
All right. So remember last year where we actually like kind of lucked out because when we got our review copy and then when we were just about to review, they dumped a huge update. And it actually saved the review, because it was just like, oh man, like we thought we were gonna have to review and give it a really bad review, and now it's like a kind of middling review. It's got promise. Yeah, there's no such saving grace this year.
No.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what happened with it. It's just they could have just taken last year's game and just improved on the gameplay, not done anything with the graphics. I mean, obviously, other than update uniforms when they need to, and throw in new players. But it's just like they could have just improved gameplay, and we would have had a swell game on our hands. And it's just I don't know what they did between 18 and 19. I actually had to think about the years, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like because in the description they're focusing so much on like the gear, the uniforms, the faces, the blah 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 blah. It's like they spent so much time upping the graphics and making it look like a better game, which it's marginally better than last year. But like I don't know. I didn't think it was that mind blowing. But it's just like they spent all this time updating the graphics that they were like, oh crap, we forgot like there's a game here too that we have to have. And it's just like I played a few games with it, and it's just the AI. I don't know, like it's just frustrating. Like the AI just was not good. Like I had teammates like making plays that just didn't make sense, like throwing to third when clearly like they should be throwing to first. And I was not in control of the AI or control of those members. Yeah, normally we'd be like, oh, Jacob, you're just fucking up. But and then other times, I mean, it would be like sometimes the bad AI would work out in my favor. Like the other team would mess up really badly too. But then other times it was just like the one that really stood out to me was that there was one time where I was hitting what looked like it was probably going to end up being a foul, but it bounced on like, the foul line. And before it could even tell me like what it was, it just rolls off into the grass into the foul area, and the camera just focuses on two of the players just standing there like on the foul line, just watching it like just stay there on the grass. And then I realized the game's crashed.
Oh no.
Like, yeah. And it's just like, guys, like what happened? Like, yeah, you get to choose from all the different teams, plus a couple of like customized teams, like, like the West versus the East, the AL's All-Stars versus the, NL's All-Stars, stuff like that. But it's just like, it's just not fun. Like when you're playing the regular game mode. And it's a shame because it's just like, I thought like, like last year with 18, I was just like, okay, they've dumped like this huge patch. Like they're really working their butts off to make this like a good game. Because that was really my first taste with RBI. Because last year was the first time I had to review it for the podcast. And so I was just like, okay, well, 19, we'll get a much better game. And it's not. The only other thing going for it is the home run derby mode, which initially I was very much like, oh God, they messed this up too, because there was a new angle. But I'll admit, like once you get used to the new camera angle for it, because it takes a far more of a third person over. It's not even over the shoulder. It's like 10 feet back almost.
Yeah.
And first off, what drives me nuts is that you can't change that camera angle. But whatever. You get used to it after a while. The home run derby section is just as fun as it was last year. It's actually the best part of the game. To the point where I'd actually be like, you guys should just sell this for $15, and I would just buy this and have, I'd have a blasty blast playing that. Like with the home run derby, one of the things I really like about it is you could just choose anybody. It's not like there's not a preset determined group of characters, or not characters, but players. You can play anybody, even those who didn't actually play in the All-Star game last year, or the home run derby, I should say, last year. So that was kind of fun because I was finding random players that I'd never heard of, but who had like insane stats. I was just like crushing everybody. So that was pretty fun. But it's just like the lack of like working on the actual gameplay And the fact that it's just not customizable, which I still find mind-blowing, because this is stuff that, like, you should just be able to go to the menu and just be like, okay, well, I want to use this to pitch. I want to use this to, like, do something. Like, you can't change camera angles. And it's just, guys, this is 2019. Like, this is stuff that, you know, is normal in pretty much every other sports game out there. Like, come on. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. What could they do to improve the game?
It's the gameplay. Like, honestly, the gameplay and the AI need to be, like, well, yeah, it's pretty much the gameplay and the AI, because there's so much of it that just made, like, really bad decisions. And it's just like, it's not even like, oh, well, yeah, they totally would have done this in real life. It's like, no, you would have been thrown back into the minors for, like, for some of these things. Like, the gameplay just never feels right. It never feels fun. It just, you're never quite sure why things are going the way that they should. Like, you know, especially with the home run derby, it's just like, you never really work out a rhythm to everything. It's just like, it almost feels like eventually everything just ends up being luck of the draw with, like, how well you're hitting. Like, you never really get to determine that sweet spot. You can't figure out, like, you know, okay, when the ball hits, like, gets to this part of the screen, that's when I need to swing. It just seems to be, yeah, well, all right, you either knocked it out of the park or you hit a foul, you know?
Yeah.
The other thing that they definitely need to work on are the animations. Like, I had talked to you about this before the podcast, but some of the animations were very, I don't know how else to describe it, but janky. Like, right after, like, the player would swing, it would do this, like, weird animation. Like, do you remember the Pika Man meme from Super Smash Brothers?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, some of them are along that line.
Oh.
And it's just like, granted, like, I don't exactly know how all the players swing in real life, like, in terms of swinging a baseball bat. But,
I hate you.
like, thank you. But it's just like, the animations were just like, oh, good Lord. Somebody, like, they really need to work on, like, how they make Bryce Harper look when he swings. It's just, yeah, like, honestly, like, I just don't know what to, like, I don't know what to think about it, because it's just, like, how much does a game cost?
$30, same as last year.
Yeah, it's like $30, and it's just like, I just look at it as like, people bought this like day one, and I'm just like, this, I would be really upset if I bought this like this. Now, like, hopefully they update it with a patch like they did last year, but like, that was on opening day of Major League Baseball season last year when they dropped that patch. Like, this game released like a month before, like, is releasing a month before opening day. And it's just like, dude, like, that's a whole month of, like, just not fun gameplay. I don't know. I just, part of me wishes that they would just release the Home Run Derby as like a $15 like standalone game, because I'd play the heck out of that. No, like, no questions asked. But the full blown game, they really need to work on this. Like, that's all that there is.
Well, fingers crossed we'll see a patch come out close to opening day, and maybe that'll fix some of the issues that we have. If we do get a big significant patch come along that does drastically change the game, we're more than happy to revisit it on the show. It's never our pleasure to give a game a bad review. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, come on, remember, we actually halted the review last year of RBI 18 because we were like, oh, damn, the patch is almost as big as the game. Like, Well, that doesn't mean much these days. Well, fair. But, it was just like, let's see what they did. And it drastically improved the game.
from what it was. So I mean, yeah, and it's definitely something I'm willing to revisit, but it's just I hope RBI 20 is better next year.
So do I. It's never good, never fun to give a bad review, but we got to be fair to the game. If it's not as good as last year, it's probably better just saving your money and picking up last year's game instead.
Yeah. So.
Oh, well, Jacob, it is always a pleasure having you on. I would ask you for final words, but now just tell me about MySpace so you could shut the fuck up about it already.
All right. So it got revealed that they lost everybody's data, any data that got uploaded, all the pictures, all the music, all that other kind of crap. Apparently it all got lost from 2015 back.
Nice.
And so, but here's the thing, I've heard from some, I've read some articles that say it's only the music that's been uploaded that got lost, the music section. Other people are saying, no, it's everything. But I went up on my own profile. Now, granted, I log into MySpace maybe twice a year just to view the ruins of what it is. I haven't
logged on to MySpace in 10 years.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm wondering if because the thing is that all my photos are still there. So I'm wondering if it's if you haven't logged on within X amount of time, all of your shit's gone.
Maybe.
So see, I mean, I don't know. It's part of it's just oh, thank God. Other part of it, it's just that's for I don't even know how you'd put it, a digital historian, all of MySpace going, losing all of that of MySpace is a good 5-year period of the internet that you just no longer have.
Yeah, all those top 8 lists gone.
Well, dude, there's a lot of music that got uploaded to that thing, a lot of bands that
I know, I had my own shitty music on there.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
And now it's thankfully lost.
Yeah, thank God. Dodged a bullet there.
But I mean, it's just the conversation about that could then also be transferred over into video games. What are we gonna do when finally we all have to get rid of Flash and we can't use Newgrounds anymore? Or what happens when I mean, hell, I mean, when we can no longer play Xbox 360 live arcade games, those are all gone. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's yeah, there's one side of it where it's just thank God all my MySpace shit's gone. At the other hand, it's just shit. There goes a bunch of history.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not. So
hopefully we'll say that in a couple more years. We'll be that part of history's gone, whether we liked it or not.
Yeah.
Speaking about now.
Man, I think this is the first serious discussion we've had on on the SML podcast and
yeah, it scares me. Fart. Is that better?
Slightly.
Oh man, Jacob, like I said, it's always good having you on chatting about this kind of stuff. Do you have any final words before we move on?
I'm super pissed I just bought Tron Runner.
And finally tonight we got Chris Taylor joining us. Chris, how's it going?
Going great.
How's things?
Oh, pretty good. Just playing the video games and buying them. I put in a pre-order for crap, I can't remember the name of it.
Good thing you paid money for it.
I paid so much money for it too. It's I'm sneakily getting into my Gmail to look at my letter.
I'm so proud of you, Chris.
My confirmation. Well, we don't plan these conversations ahead of time every time. I put in a pre-order for TikTok Travelers. Destiny Connect TikTok Travelers. It's a game that's going to come out in the fall, if not a little later. It's from NIS America and Suprio DX, who are the developers of The Longest 5 Minutes.
Ooh.
which I didn't get to cover for the show, but it is currently my number one favorite Switch game as far as like, as far as that goes.
That's high praise.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, that or Skyrim. I played Skyrim more. But,
of course, Skyrim's on the list.
But in terms of like actual on the TV consoles, like Longest 5 Minutes is only on Switch. So it's an exclusive and that gives it extra. Like I would still be playing Skyrim every day if it were on PS4 or whatever. I mean, if I had it on PS4.
I was going to say, because it is on PS4.
It is on, it's on everything.
It's on there twice, actually, because they have the VR version too.
Ah, nice. Yeah. So, I'm excited about that. It's going to be a few months before that comes out, but folks who actually liked The Longest 5 Minutes and enjoy, you know, NIS in general should check out Destiny Connect TikTok Travelers when it comes out.
We'll have to do that. Hopefully we'll cover it on the show. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think Purnell covered The Longest 5 Minutes, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so, I mean, they might send you a copy.
Maybe. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But we do have two final games to talk about tonight. You ready to get to these?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The first game you're here to talk about is called Bard's Gold, developed and published by Pixel Lantern, will be published in Japan by East Asia Soft, released March 5th on the Switch for $8.99. Help the Bard to overcome the dungeon's many dangerous perils and use your newfound treasures to improve your character and to buy new weapons and gear. Chris, tell us about it.
All right, Bard's Gold. Well, this is a I don't know what I would call it, if 8.5-bit. Actually, it really, really gave me a Windows 95 vibe, like a pixel platformer. Like felt like it had come out, you know, like it's something you might play a demo for on one of those crazy like 1001 demo discs they used to do.
Yeah,
you remember those at all?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it's like one level of like a million different games. Like this feels like it's like the hidden treasure, like on one of those. So like that's kind of where the aesthetic took me in terms of like nostalgia value. I'm not sure if that's what they intended, but it's a good looking game. Yeah, so Bard's Gold is the adventure of a bard. He's not even a bard. He doesn't have an instrument or anything. He throws knives. I think he has a silly hat, so that's why they called him a bard. But anyways, so yeah, you're it's the plot is just kind of a thing of like, well, this goblin stole your thing, so you got to go get the thing. In this case, they're just like, it's just gold. Just don't worry about it. It's not special or anything. Any excuse to basically put you into this castle that okay, so it's not randomly or procedurally generated. It is set rooms, but which room is your level 1 will randomly select from a selection of them. So, you know, I replayed this, of course, several times because it's roguelite in the sense that you will die often. And so I did track like how many times certain levels would appear, and it's actually about like, it seems like there's maybe 4 to 5 levels in the early part of the game, like 4 to 5 different versions of the first room, second room, third room, you know, and you just don't know which one you're going to get. But once you do know, then you can memorize them. You can safely memorize them because if they pop up again, it'll do the same thing, which is extremely beneficial in a game like this because it features many a cheap death, falling spikes from the ceiling, knives coming from the wall. That is to say, you don't know who threw them. They just threw them from off camera, but they're, you know, coming after you. All kinds of enemies who do, you know, that move faster than you do and often will change direction if you hit them. Different things like that. So this game is definitely, it qualifies as a hardcore game, I think. However, I should explain the interface. So it's, like I said, it's a side scroller where you jump, you have a double jump, that is yours to keep at the beginning of the game. You don't have to unlock it because it's not a Metroidvania. And you throw knives persistently forward, just like a, you know, Castlevania or Ghosts and Goblins type thing. And, you know, you can duck and you can, that's just about it. but you can actually improve and or change the weapon every couple of levels if you unlock the shop. The first shop is located at the top of level 2, and every enemy drops jewelry, gold, whatever, money basically. And you can also collect money from striking hidden points on the wall. It's got that kind of Milan Secret Castle kind of vibe to it, except that you can collect an item, and I've pretty consistently gotten this item right away in level 1, and it's these magic glasses that they make sparklies on the wall where you can actually find something. So that's really good, especially if you find all of the secrets. You usually get a bonus item, so that's nice. But yeah, once you get into the shop, you can then upgrade the power of your knife, which is good because the knife only does 1 HP of damage, and some enemies have quite a lot of HP. You can upgrade it as far as your money will take you. You can upgrade your life, add extra lives because it's basically one-hit deaths. And there's a shield item, so you can get, I haven't been able to afford it yet, so I don't know how many hits you get out of it, but it's a temporary, defense boost.
It's just one.
I'd probably, yeah. Oh, you played this game, right?
Yeah, on Xbox.
Okay, cool, yeah. So it's just the one hit. And, so you can get like an axe type item. You can get, you could get a, what did they call it? It's like the chakran or whatever, the spinning blade, and it said a warrior princess used to use this one. It's like, wow, I haven't seen a Xena warrior princess reference in a video game since the video game version of Xena warrior princess. That's pretty cool. And then yeah, like if you are lucky, you can eventually find a skill book, which if you lose all of your lives and have to start the entire game over, you can use all the gold you collected and didn't spend in that playthrough to purchase your way towards getting more items on your loadout. I only had the one skill book that let me improve my amount of lives, but I was able to improve it a few times. So actually I start off with like 4 lives now instead of just 2. 2 because the game has 3 different modes, which is really cool to me. It has the normal mode where you get like 4 lives and the minimum of like treasure drops and items and things. And then you get the quote unquote retro difficulty, which gives you only 2 lives, but it doubles the treasure and another factor that I've already forgotten. And then you can just play it in roguelike mode, which does actually have permadeath, and it does not allow you to it doesn't allow you any kind of loadout whatsoever. So you always start, from the beginning, and it just gives you like an instant 3 lives. That is to say, you don't start the stage over if you die. You get 3 hits and that's it for the whole game. So you can kind of customize your experience there, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, it's basically, like I said, the levels are unpredictable, but memorizable, which is nice for a game this hardcore. However, you're probably not going to get too far based on memorization because, as I understand, this game has about 100 levels before you get to the end. So it's actually a pretty long trek. So it's definitely all about.
I don't think it's 100 in a row. I think it's 100 different stages that you could run into. It's been a while since I played it, but yeah,
that makes sense then.
I want to say the main campaign from beginning to end is maybe 20, 25 stages.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool then.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've played it, but I love it.
I must have just misread the. Yeah, that's the thing. I must have misread the text in the eShop. But
damn it, Chris.
Normally I'm a brilliant journalist, but this time I fell short on that. No, I had a lot of fun with this one because I really did like. I like the way it plays. I like buying the different weapons and like using them, seeing how far I can get on what. And it felt unfair, but honestly, I played so many games of this level of unfairness on. I've got 20 or 30 of them on my NES shelf right now. So
yeah, the more books you unlock and power up, the easier it gets, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I really, really appreciate that they gave the game an improvable loadout, which I always appreciate that in a roguelike or roguelite. And, you know, like I said, it's just fun to play. It definitely, like I said, has that retro aesthetic. And yeah, I quite like this one.
Well, then $9, what's your verdict?
Yeah, $9 if you're looking for a good challenge and, you know, something that won't bother you too bad, I guess. Yeah, this one's a good one. I recommend it.
I agree. I love this one on Xbox, and I'm tempted to pick it up again on Switch. I have it on PlayStation as well.
Oh,
and I'm nearly completed with it on PlayStation. I completed it on Xbox. I just really enjoy this game.
Wow, nice. I didn't realize this is such a favorite of yours.
Yeah, it's one of those magical games that just tickled me in just the right places.
Just the right way. Cool. Well, all right. Well, I echo your sentiment then on Switch. I think it's a worthwhile purchase.
Awesome. One final game to talk about tonight is called Unit 4, developed by Gamera Interactive, published by Cubic Games, released March 15th on the Switch for $14.99. An alien army has stolen the sacred artifact of our hero's tribe. Similar reports are coming from other planets. Problem, the solar system will decay without the power of these artifacts. Begin an epic journey to uncover the truth. What is this army trying to accomplish, and can you recover the artifacts before the universe collapses? Chris, did you?
Dang, that's some high stakes. I haven't yet. I mean, as far as I understand, the universe is still on the verge of collapse. But I did play this game. And
I would hope you did.
Well, you always frame it like asking me if I completed the main objective. And like, no, I only had a week. So I did my best. Okay, so first off, before I actually start the review proper, I have to say props to Gamera for coming up with that for their studio name. It's about time somebody did, and it's just brilliant. You know the Gamera movies?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the kaiju turtle that spins around. He's great. I just thought it was great. Anyways, okay, so Unit 4. So this is a game that I took umbrage with with another review that I happened to glance at, because I was just looking at its Metacritic score, because sometimes after I'm done formulating my thoughts, I like to see what other people thought to see how we lined up. And somebody called it a Souls-like. And I'm like, just because a game is hard, you don't have to call it a Souls-like.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing like a Souls game at all. It, you know, unless Souls was on Game Boy Color at some point, which would actually be kind of cool. Anyways, so yeah, this is another 2D. Now, this one definitely has more of a Nintendo aesthetic. That is to say, definitely reminded me of something one might play on NES or Game Boy Color. But again, it's a little... It belies it a little bit, because honestly, like, looking at the backgrounds and the sprite work on this game, like, it is among the best I've seen in this kind of game. Like, it's seriously, like, just look at the first level. It's gorgeous. I really, really, really dug the art style of this game. Having said, you play as 4 characters, which you switch between rapidly. 3 of which are only wearing like a G-string, essentially, which is, they got little 1 pixel nipples and stuff.
Love it.
As I understand from the game's trailer, I haven't played this far yet, but you can eventually buy other costumes for them. But I'm kind of thinking, maybe I'll just have a big naked adventure here. So getting to know these 4 characters is absolutely key to the game, and fortunately it comes with a very thorough tutorial stage, which normally, you know, people are like, oh, tutorial stage, back in my day, why games, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's true, but you actually need the tutorial in this game, because you have to learn about these characters. So your blue guy is the double jumper, and, you know, so his thing... So you jump with the A button, and then you double jump with the X button. That's already something that's going to be hard for people to figure out initially. The reason why is because all the characters their jump button is A and their action button is X, and Mr. Blue's action is the double jump. He can also cling to walls and stuff, which is good. Sorry. And then you got your red guy, who is the big strong brute, and his X button is a straight ahead charge of a certain distance, which will take out enemies. But if you short him that charge, you can't just do another dash immediately, so you often will end up dying if you don't space it out correctly. Then you got your green guy, who has a Bionic Commando basically style, like grappling hook, which he can go straight or diagonal on stuff. He can swing off of things, hitch a ride on the bottom of platforms. In the tutorial covers it, makes good use of him. And for me, he was the hardest to master because I'm not good at Bionic Commando.
Me neither.
And, I can't say that it's exactly like Bionic Commando because he can actually jump too. So it's, old lad Spencer was not able to jump. Anyways, so then you've got your fourth type, who is your wizard type. And your wizard actually is the only one that wears clothes. And his only skill is that, when you can jump, and then when you push the action button, he then turns into an ethereal form, ghostly. And that allows you to pass through platformers. It makes you, enemies pass right through you, all kinds of obstacles like that. Now, the problem with that, though, is that when you're in invisible mode, your movement is reduced and you're unable to jump. So if you get trapped by enemies who are kind of chasing you around, you're eventually going to have to, figure out something else. And indeed, this entire game is about figuring out something else. Every stage is laid out with just tons of obstacles, and they really did a good job of designing these levels to where it's not obvious which character is going to get you through, and a lot of times the answer is more than one. That is to say, you can actually come up with some pretty creative ways to get through this game. But you do have to use all four characters because, the obstacles are, numerous. The enemies are very, very tough, and you die in one hit, of course. Obviously. So, yeah, you really do have to become very clever at this game, and you're going to be replaying stages a lot. Like, essentially, the game is moving in, a lot of it for me was just moving into a new area, studying it for a minute, kind of planning out my strategy, and then executing it. There's very little that I could actually do on the fly in this game. You really have to chew on levels. And that is doubly true because not only is it difficult, the stages are long. Like, you'll be playing through, even the early stages and be like, am I done yet? When is this going to end? And I've heard report that some stages get up to half an hour to get through.
Damn.
Just one stage. Yeah. And that's without, too much dying or anything like that. So I found that to be really cool because not only are there multiple stages per planet, there's multiple planets in this game. There's a ton of stages, and each planet has a whole different backdrop. So this is it's an excitingly large game to me. For the fact that it is this kind of platformer thing with a kind of switching characters gimmick, it's clear that so much care went into designing this thing. And like I said, the fact that the first, from the beginning, I was blown away by how good the sprite art is in this game. I was like, man, I got to see all these planets. So, they really got me hooked in that way. But yeah, this game is definitely in the difficult realm, a Souls-like, if you will. And but to players who enjoy a nice challenge and really, really want to get through this thing, I looked it up. There are no speedruns of this game so far.
Oh.
On any platform. So if you want to be the hero, this is the game that you can get there. There's plenty of reviews and trailers and things like that. Because this previously came out for other systems, but yeah, I couldn't find a single speedrun on it, and I was really excited to see one because I was like, I want to see what the late stages look like, but it looks like I'm gonna have to look at them myself.
Be what you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see.
Oh, and a couple of other things. I really enjoyed the soundtrack. It's just, an 8-bit Game Boy style soundtrack, but it it's got some great tunes to it. Obviously a lot of care went into the soundtrack. The other thing is that there's actually also 2 mini games that you can play. One is where you're floating. It's kind of like a shoot 'em up, but there's no shooting. You just float in a sub and try to collect coins and get to the end of the stage. And the other one is where you get your 4 characters and you go around like a single screen game trying to collect as many coins as possible using like different characters' powers and stuff. I'm not quite sure why they included those. They're not nearly as fleshed out as like the main game, but they're there. I played them too. So,
well, overall, $15 on it. What do you think of it?
$15. I would say, don't go in expecting to just be running through a bunch of nice little levels and like, shooting a boss at the end and then, just moving on. This game is a brain challenge. Like this really actually does make you think, and, it hands you a lot of challenges that don't actually feel unfair, because normally before you get into a spot of danger, you actually get a bit of safety so that you can plan out your route. At least that's what I noticed so far. So this is definitely a thinking man's challenge platformer, if you will. Definitely pick this one up if you're into 8-bit art, because this is really cool to look at. And I also, like I said, I dig the soundtrack. I'm really looking forward to hearing what the rest of it looks and sounds like more than anything. But yeah, it's the controls are really tight. Switching characters is actually pretty good because you have a little dial on the bottom that shows where all the characters are in relation to each other. So you're not like, I need blue. Like, how many times do I have to push this button to get blue? Because you're switching them with one button, and it just turns the wheel, and you can turn the wheel in either direction. So eventually you'll get really good, and you're going to have to, because actually a lot of puzzles require you to switch characters mid-air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like in the tutorial, you have to switch characters mid-air. I'm not kidding. This game is like bonkers in terms of like how they made it. So if curiosity is getting the best of you, it's absolutely worth $15. So I would say this is definitely one to look out for. I was pretty impressed with this one. Awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for this episode. Another successful episode of reviews, Chris, don't you think?
Huzzah!
Huzzah and hooray. Thanks again to Pernell and Jacob for coming on. Chris, thank you as always for coming on. Do you have any final words before we get to some music this week? I normally don't announce on the show, but Overclocked Remix just put out their 70th remix album or project.
Ow, nice.
Chronopolis, music inspired by Chrono Cross. We're going to play a couple of songs from that. And the link's going to be in the description. Go check out the whole thing because it's really good.
I guess, yeah, do it. I guess my final thought is make sure you're going out and getting the new Toe Jam and Earl. I found out my name is in the credits.
Really?
Yeah. I forgot that that was part of my Kickstarter rewards, but I'm in there.
Nice. Congratulations.
So, go buy my game.